I've been wanting to make a walkthrough video of Autopilot's auto lane change feature. I want to show you how it performs in various driving scenarios. How well does it detect cars in adjacent lanes and in your blind spots? Can you use it to exit the highway? And will auto lane change work when the car is actually turning in a curve? So first we need to make sure that the auto lane change feature is enabled. We'll go through the driving menu and we'll select Autopilot and just make sure that it's turned on just like that. Okay, so we're good to go. So let's go for a drive. So in order to use the auto lane change feature, you have to have Autopilot engaged, as we do. We see the blue steering wheel that indicates that. And you'll see that it clearly identifies our current lane in blue. And then it's a little hard to see, but there are gray lines here where it can detect the adjacent lanes. And when you have these lines of the adjacent lanes, that means that it identifies a lane which it can change into. And so when that's there, you'll be able to do an auto lane change. You always want to make sure you check your blind spots and your surroundings, because while the car does have the ultrasonic sensors and radar and camera, it is not a full self-driving vehicle. You cannot completely rely on it, so you do have to pay attention. So in order to do a lane change, once this adjacent lane is available, we simply click our turn signal. The lane will turn dash, the car will move over, accelerate as needed to the desired speed, and it will turn off the signal for you. Let's change lanes here. So the car makes a single lane change and then turns off the turn signal indicator by itself. It will not make multiple lane changes at once. If you want to change to the next lane again, you need to signal again. The other thing is that the Autopilot will actually accelerate to pass a car if you're ahead of a slower car, and it will speed up as it's changing lanes to pass the vehicle and match your given speed setting. In previous, much older versions of the auto lane change feature, it would move to the next lane and then wait for a while before speeding up, and that was really unnatural. And they've improved that a little bit. So when you change lanes, you can also push on the accelerator manually, and the car will speed up as you do so. If you push the brakes, of course, that will cancel Autopilot completely. Odd. That's one of the problems with the recent update. Because the GPS is not very accurate, it tends to slow down when it thinks it's on a... Holy cow, look at all these boxes. That can't be safe. It tends to slow down when it thinks when it's near an exit lane or an off-ramp. Because the GPS is not really accurate and it thinks it's on the off-ramp when it really isn't. So one of the features that's nice about auto lane change is that if you're changing lanes into a slower traffic, it will actually slow down to match the speed of the car that's in front of you as you're moving into the new lane. So if there is an obstacle to our left, you'll note that it's detected on the ultrasonic sensors, and the car will not change lanes, but it will change once the lane to its left and ahead of it is free. One thing we have to be careful is that if there's a car that's coming up from behind, the Autopilot is not at this time able to detect that vehicle. If we try to change lanes and there's a car coming, it will actually start initiating that turn, as you can see, and you really have to not let it do that. So it's very important to monitor your blind spots. Do not trust the car to make all the decisions for you. You certainly have to double check that the path is clear. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we clearly have a lane to our left. This is a restricted access lane for the high occupancy vehicles, or carpool lane as they call it. And you'll see that it does not display as a lane, adjacent lane in the Autopilot view. So the vision system here is clearly able to tell the difference between a dashed or dotted line on the right here, where we have a lane that we can change into, versus a solid line on the left. And then as this line turns dashed to our left, you notice we see that now available, and we can change into it. So if I try to change lanes into this restricted access lane, the car simply won't do it. And we'll try turn signal on, and it simply won't go. So that's very nice. It's able to tell the difference between a dashed or dotted lane line on the right and a solid lane line on the left, which would indicate an area where it's not allowed to change into. Can Autopilot do a lane change while it's doing a curve? And we'll try that. And the answer is yes, it can. As long as there's a dashed line there and the adjacent lane is free of obstructions, it will perform that maneuver. So that's very good. So one question that's come up is, will the auto lane change feature take an exit if you signal to do so? I don't think it will, but let's try it. I've been wondering that too. We'll signal, and as you can see, it just ignores the exit lane. It doesn't have a dash line there or anything like that. So I don't think it can identify an exit lane at this time. I think it's really just looking for dash lines. So auto lane change is a really great feature. It is by no means perfect. In regards to blind spot monitoring, it does have the ultrasonic sensors which will detect cars in your blind spot. However, they only have a range of about 24 feet or 8 meters. So if there's a car that's close, it will detect it. If there's a car that's coming really fast from behind you, the ultrasonic sensors don't have enough range. And as far as I know, the car cannot detect that sort of behavior. The rearward-facing cameras on the fenders would be well positioned to identify cars that are coming up quickly from behind you. But as far as we know, these cameras aren't currently being used in Autopilot. Autopilot will not merge out of its lane to exit the highway. However, if there is a dedicated exit lane demarcated by a dashed line, it can change into that lane and exit the highway that way. Of course, Autopilot auto lane change does not currently work on surface streets. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. There's a lot of other videos I want to make. They do take up a lot of time, but subscribe if you want to see a lot more videos. So thanks for watching, and drive safe, guys.